No. Well, we're live, so we can hash this out while
Oh,
people join us.
hello, people who are joining us. What the?
Hello, hello. I was a genius and forgot how our streaming service works, even though I've been using it for years.
Where are you going to? Not you.
Corolla's
There we
Corolla's
go.
concentration face is my favorite.
Thank you.
Uh, Welcome everyone. Grab a
Welcome.
seat and relax. Corolla got to learn about the scandalous person I was when I was in high school and in college.
I am shook. I am
Ugh, I know.
shooketh.
Anyone who paints like this though, it shouldn't be a surprise. Anyone who looks like this on a regular basis, none of that should be shocking.
So you should get the chandelier. What the hell?
The chandelier.
The chandelier. Yes.
Curl and I were
Yes.
looking at various Amazon products that are meant to bring about romance.
Yeah.
None of them are very romantic.
And some of them are just flat out fake.
Some of them are very fake.
This all came about because my ring light died.
Yes.
Yes, and now I have a spotlight lamp set up, which is why we have all these nice shadows. Um, it makes a very frightening rattling sound if you shake it. I don't think a lamp is supposed to sound like that, so
I'm going to agree with you. I don't think that they're supposed to sound like that.
I'm
So I'm going
half
to
expecting it to just burst into flames. So
well, if that happens, we go down in a blaze of glory, just as I'm sure the employees of the antique would like. So we're here to talk about Antique Bakery, go over the main episode, some points that we forgot because
yep,
I totally forgot a couple of points because we were busy talking about my horrible husband Jean Baptiste.
you can keep him. He's all
Good,
yours. He's all
good,
yours.
good. Because I adore that horrible man. Um, there is a thing on here that is 2,200 individual fake rose petals.
Oh, on the website.
Yeah, I can get them in black, in green, which is just a leaf. That's called a leaf.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Various blues and purples. They're 47% off, which means I have some questions about the quality of this product.
47%. That's such a random number.
Yeah, they're $8.99 and they'll arrive by Wednesday. But I don't think I need that many fake rose petals unless I'm going to cosplay Jean Baptiste, which is shockingly not the character I cosplayed from Antique Bakery. I have cosplayed Antique Bakery once.
Tachibana?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Speaking of, I got pastries from my local French bakery chain.
Did you?
I did,
What do you have?
including uh not the most phallic looking eclair that I've ever seen,
Ooh.
but a pretty phallic looking eclair. And you can't judge me for this. This is a Nutella croissant donut muffin thing. I am allergic to Nutella, but I love it.
I'm allergic to onions and I still eat them every day. No, not
How do
every
you,
day. Every week.
how do you live?
I don't. I have a lot of rashes. I need to get my pastry because I ate one of them already. It's in the fridge. Wait, hang on.
I will likely not be eating on camera because that costs extra.
Oh my god.
That costs extra. But I am just so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be here and to look like a mythical sea witch. Um, and I'm glad to be talking about one of my favorite series. Hello, welcome back.
What?
Welcome back. How nice of you to join us again.
I
Gremlin.
don't know. I am a gremlin.
Uh,
I don't even know what these are called, but it has like Boston cream filling.
so it's a Boston cream donut or a Boston cream
Yeah.
tart.
Yeah, I mean it's not a donut, but like and then I have Meiji matcha cookies.
Oh, So you like matcha?
I do like matcha. Not in
Okay.
tea form, but in snacks. Because I I don't like tea, so I don't like drinking it. But I really do like matcha, like sweets.
Matcha just tastes like grass to me, and like not in a pleasant way.
Is okay.
All right. Some notes about the show. If you are not subscribed to Patreon, this is a great time to do so because I promised Corolla that if we get over $100 a month on Patreon, I
That's
will
two more
watch.
dollars.
That is $2 more that I will watch Ken Porsche with her,
Yes,
and we will
on
record the
camera.
experience on camera. Um, and Corolla gets to explain Kim Porsche to me and all of. I'm
But
still a little confused by the tweet that you sent out a few days ago, where I did ask you, "Isn't this supposed to be a romance?" Because it was just men beating each other up.
what? But it's a mafia romance. Like
I mean, I don't
you
have
will.
answers. I don't know.
Like I promise you, you'll like it. Like, but it was just like when I saw that reply, I was like, what did you think it was? Like they're mafia. Like,
No, I mean, I was mostly being a dick because I know that because you've gone out of your way to say that a lot.
I love them so much. You
But it
don't
was
understand.
like
It's like they made it for me specifically.
I thought this was supposed to be a romance.
It
These are
is.
just men hurting each other.
But did you see the entire video? That's the question.
Um, I think so.
Because at the end, they're super fluffy in that video. Because it's, Kid and Porsche fighting, uh, longing, fucking, kissing, being in love. I think that's the. I have seen that video an ungodly amount of times. Okay, it was a very good edit.
I, I'm sure it
I
was.
can't wait for the brain rot episode because I can finally unleash this, just as if I've been
Oh,
repressing it.
I'm very excited for the Brain Rot episode as well. But so that is our goal for Patreon. If we get, I think that's like one more patron. Um,
Yes.
then I will watch Ken Porsche with Corolla.
What? How
Yes.
much are we talking? Like, how much are you willing to watch?
I'm gonna say since our patron episodes are usually like an hour ish, that's like what, 2 episodes?
One episode.
Fuck, 1 episode.
God damn it! Because you need to watch at least three to get. Okay, we'll get there. It's fine. I'm
Okay,
gonna get you hooked. I look
this
how
feels
much
like a
joy it gives me, Amanda.
this
Look
feels
at
like a
my
threat.
face.
This feels like a genuine threat.
This is the
Um,
happiest threat you've ever been subjected to. Look at me. Look how thrilled I am. How can you say no to that face?
no.
You're so mean to me.
It
God
only
damn
gets
it.
worse. It only gets worse considering that our obvious choice for Halloween won out. So I get to be mean to you for an hour and a
Oh
half.
my god. I can't wait. I'm gonna be horrifically abused on camera for an hour.
For an hour and a half, you get to be horribly maligned and abused on camera while I look my
Ugh.
most fabulous.
I have to check
Um,
if my contacts are still wearable.
I have to go brush a wig.
Ugh.
There was one time, so one of my uncles is super possessive over me because that tends to happen when your dad dies. Uh, and I mentioned like just like no context on Facebook, like, oh, one of my brushes still has blonde hair in it. And he's like, what man did you have over? And it's like, first of all, I'm in my 30s.
I am the
Second,
man.
I'm the blonde man in the house. It's me. I'm the blonde man in the
Was
house.
I? Yes.
Twas I. Uh, so that's what's going on in Patreon. Patreon is a great way to support the show because these videos are demonetized because we talk about
Very.
dick and abuse all the time.
Yeah, and last the main episode, which had a lot of discussion around sperm and consent.
We're going to talk about that more today. But this is a great place to, if you have questions, comments, concerns about an episode, you may bring them forward. If you want to just hang out with us, that is also why we are here. There is one immediate point that I forgot to bring up in the main episode that I think we explained around, but we didn't pinpoint on, so I think it's important to do, and that is the portrayal of gay men being promiscuous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that's another one of those like tricky in group out group things because in group we know slutty gays.
Yeah.
Some of us have been slutty gays. Corolla got to learn that about me. I've uh but out group people watching this, especially at the time that it was out,
Mm.
that's a very very valid criticism that a lot of straight people have against especially gay men
Which,
is
is
that
interesting because there are a lot of promiscuous straight people, but go on.
shh, shh, it's okay when straight people do it.
Okay.
It's when the gays do the exact same thing it's a problem. But it's interesting to think about because you have Ono really portrayed as this like very, very promiscuous male character.
Mm.
Um, every place he goes, he ends up fucking someone. He's lost jobs over it. His life has been threatened over it. Um, I think the anime does a pretty poor job of explaining how high the stakes are for him occasionally.
Mm.
Manga is a lot better at explaining how high those stakes are. Or like he has said, like, oh yeah, people have threatened to kill me. Like I literally am blacklisted at all of these places because I just kept fucking people. And much like the whole gay of demonic charm thing, it's played off as a joke. Like,
Yeah.
oh, those bloody gays. But that's a stigma that affected how gay men received care for AIDS during the AIDS crisis. It is still affecting healthcare when it comes to gay men, where gay and bisexual men still cannot donate blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if these things didn't have real world consequences, then this can stay a dumb, funny thing that happens in fiction. And
Mm.
as we mentioned in the main episode, none of that is saying that we want this puritanial rinse. Again, Ono is fantastic
It's
representation
amazing.
for a lot of queer people because that's a mood.
Yeah.
That's a whole ass mood.
And I think, for a lot of people, he's also an ideal because who
Yes.
doesn't want to have men throw themselves at you occasionally? Like, who doesn't want to be the gay of demonic
Right.
charm that just gets everyone?
Right. But I think the manga does a much better job of highlighting that this is a problem. Like, he has lost jobs, he has lost money, his safety has been threatened because of that. And again, that is a real world thing that
Mm.
happens, that there is this perceived concern. You know what? I will say this. So, old American convention culture usually involved rooming with a bunch of people. It'd be like 10 to 15 people per like 2-bed hotel room.
Is that
Eh,
even legal?
no,
I don't think you could do that here. I think
you
they
can't.
would be.
You can't do it here either. What you do is you get a bunch of room keys and you meet your friends in the parking lot and you go up in shifts. You don't all go up at one time. You go up in shifts so no one knows where you're going. Professional.
Wow.
Professional. Uh, but I remember when I like officially came out as bisexual, like all of the girls that I had roomed with suddenly started interrogating, like, "Oh, were you rooming with me because you wanted to sleep with me?" And it's like,
Of course.
"No, because I'm in high school and I have $10 to my name and I want to go to this convention. It has nothing to do with wanting to sleep with you. I would have done that if I did." It has I, but like even like people that I've known for years started doing that like weird interrogation thing where like, oh, does that mean you wanted to fuck me? No, it
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
You're my friends. Like I didn't want if I wanted that, like that's different. But
Mm.
like I mean that's a very, very small like real world consequence. But like, yeah, there is this perceived notion that like the minute you come out as like some flavor of queer, that everything that you do has an ulterior motive, and that's hurtful, that's harmful
Mm.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
real
yeah.
world. It changes how people look at you, it changes how you're perceived in professional situations. um, so that's something that I feel like we talked about but we never really pinpointed in on because again it's toting that fine line of, obviously
Yeah.
we're not calling for a puritanial rinse. We we can't judge anybody on shit.
No, I don't want a puritanical
I don't
rinse.
want I
Thank
don't
you.
want
No.
that. And Corolla got to learn about the sex monster I was in high school. I can't judge anyone. I don't have the right to judge
No,
anyone.
you don't. No. No.
Uh,
Neither do I, but differently.
but I
Differently.
definitely don't.
No.
But it's interesting to look back at that with Ono and, like, his myriad of ex-boyfriends, and like, yeah, like
Mhm.
he's a heartbreaker. Like, he breaks hearts without thought, and
Yeah.
like, that's not a moral failing, but that's such an interesting choice.
Mm.
Um,
And it's
yes.
also like and I mean, I know I brought it up in the main app, but just, reiterating that when he runs into his ex-boyfriend later in the manga, he's
Mhm.
with a new man, and they are so adamant on stating that, they're not like those gays because
Mhm.
they still aren't monogamous and they aren't the
Mhm.
pride gays. And like it's a
Mhm.
very like they're drawing a very strict line. And so it continues that narration that the of the promiscuous gays, and that's the gay lifestyle that particularly in the 90s was how a lot of people perceived gay culture, and
Absolutely, and
which also
yeah,
was a lot of the gay culture for that
it
matter. But
was. It was, because I mean, if you think about the context of when this is written, I mean, Japan still barely acknowledges queer people. So, but then you have the Western context of it, which the series does get a lot of Western input because Fumi Yoshinaga, that's how she rolled. Um, we are just barely clawing our way out of the AIDS crisis in the 1990s, early 2000s. Uh, the best queer representation that we have on air is Will and Grace, and
the,
maybe Sex in the City.
and the sexless gays.
Yeah, and the sexless gay best friends. But in actual queer spaces, that promiscuous gay guy is pretty much all you know.
Yeah, and again, I can't remember where I heard this, but someone said it very, like, they formulated it very well, that, why did gay culture, become like this? Well, it wasn't like men were allowed to shack up with each other and like be a
Right,
couple and live together. Like,
right,
they had to go to the cruising spots and the parks and, have all the promiscuous sex because you couldn't have a relationship because it wasn't socially accepted. And that's what
right.
bred that culture.
Absolutely. And we don't want to take away the agency of just like some men or whores.
Yeah, and that's
Those
fine.
exist. Yeah, like
Like,
those exist. And that's not negative inherently. It's just, again, it's one of those things that the further you get away from it, this is a portrayal that is now over 20 years old.
mm, dear.
We've
Has mental breakdown.
right,
Uh,
wounded gay sounds. This is
uh,
a 20-year-old portrayal.
mm,
That is a fascinating time capsule.
it is. And another thing that I just remembered when you started talking
Yes.
about this, like, I don't know, because I obviously have only read it in English. I don't know how what words, what vocabulary they use in the original Japanese. But in the early 90s, there was also in Japanese gay culture, they separated between,
Mhm.
like, homosexuals and the term gay, because gay was considered to be effeminate and emasculated and dramatic and like all of these negative stereotypes. So gay men in Japan didn't use that term to describe themselves because or works that concerned gay people, because it was considered to be derogatory and dragging down the entire community, which makes me
Yeah.
wonder how Ono refers to himself and how other characters refer to him in the original script, because that also plays into that.
Right. And I mean, to this day you see that separation between gays that really are just here for all, like, I don't want to say negative stereotypes because that's mean, but like all of the parts about gay culture that most people aren't always the most fond of. So like, yeah, there's a whole subsect of like especially gay man that just thrives off of being every trash stereotype of being a gay man. That they're effeminate, that they don't pay for food or drinks,
Mm.
that they do club drugs, that they dress scantily, that and like none of that is an indictment. Like be free. I'm not here to tell someone that their gay experience is invalid because they just want to suck dick and do poppers. Like that's not what I'm here to do. I'm wearing too much makeup to say that. I'm wearing too much metallic makeup on a Sunday to tell anyone how to live their life. Um, but we do still see that person, and especially now as we do have more and more people who normally would stay out of these political spaces becoming very politicized, that
Mm.
kind of lifestyle is increasingly uh, coming to butt up against that. My favorite right now is drag queens who, especially in the US, have always been very political. There's no such thing as an apolitical drag queen.
Yeah.
Drag has always been political, especially here in the US. Uh, yes.
I just thought I heard scratching at the door, but I think we're safe.
Okay. But like you have the queens that do like RuPaul's Drag Race, and that's now a very very popular show among like cis het female audiences and increasingly children, which I have feelings about. Uh, and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe this drag queen is political." What did you think? What did you think that this is just a man in a wig who sings bad Kesha songs? What did? Of course they're political. They've always been political.
Who do you think pushed this entire movement forward? Like,
Right. Like, do you think RuPaul just floated from a fracking ship and decided that he was gonna do this completely apolitically? No. Of course they're political. Of course they have political feelings, and especially as drag continues to face bans and
mhm.
persecution here in the US, they got more outwardly political. And it surprises me so much when straight people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that you gays are so political." Yeah, because you want to kill us. Like,
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. You're continuously trying to take our rights away. That feels pretty political to me. But yeah,
right,
but
like,
it's the same thing. It's like the sexless gay accessory best friend has been
yeah,
replaced by the apolitical drag queen.
yeah.
No, that is definitely a cat at my door. I'll be right back.
Okay, go get the cat. Go. That is not a euphemism. It's literally a cat. Oh my god, I love talking about this show. And I love talking about this with my friend. It's always a good time. I hope everyone is doing well, of course. Let's see. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How's the cat?
He is naggy and probably coming to steal my pastry, so I guess I'll eat it.
He steals pastries? Hello. Glad to
Hello.
have you.
He steals he steals everything, Amanda.
I don't know. I don't live with you. I don't know these things. I know sometimes it feels like I live in your walls, but I don't.
It absolutely does feel like you live in my walls.
Uh, but I definitely wanted to bring up the representation of like the promiscuous gay, because that was something that, again, like when I watched it, whatever, I am that man. But like the more I think about it, the more I kind of like separate myself from it, the more I'm kind of like, oh man, that was kind of
You see?
He's a thief. I love him.
He is a thief. He does in fact
See,
steal.
and my favorite part is like he's clearly trying to ingratiate himself, where he's like, "No, be distracted by how cute I am, while I steal from you." Um, oh my god, thank you so much. So actually, this is makeup that arrived early. It's not as dramatic of a shift as I liked, because this is supposed to be another duochrome. But in the words of one of my friends, I look like a sea witch, and she meant that as a compliment.
Like Ursula?
Yeah, like who's also a very, very, very famously modeled after a drag queen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like just that whole depiction of like the promiscuous gay, and again, like you can't think about this outside of the context of what was happening in the real world, where you had, especially like in the 2000s and the 90s, we had gay bashing that frequently happened in the US,
Yeah.
where queer spaces were regularly invaded and raided, where sexual assault is still something that is not reported in same-sex couples, or if it is between couples of the same biological sex, because straight men absolutely do assault gay men and vice versa, and just no one talks about that. There's just so many real world implications and baggage that makes it hard to just let that go.
Mm.
Especially now. And
Yeah.
again, we're not calling for like, oh no, he's canceled and he needs to be a better character. No, we don't want that. He's fine.
And even if he was, we'd just put him in our box of awful men and cling to him forever and take.
Right. Like he's no one's saying like, oh, we need a better version of Ono. No, he's a great time capsule of what was going on
I also
during
think
that.
that,
Yes.
you as an avid defender of John Baptiste would never cancel Ono of all
Can I
people.
help you with something? Is there something that I can do for you in this
Actually,
particular
yeah, a
moment?
lot, but I'll leave you to it. You
I,
can keep
I
your you can keep your terrible Frenchman.
I love
Um,
that terrible Frenchman so
oh my
much.
god.
He's so tall.
He's so tall.
He's so tall and he's so broad and he's so
Oh my.
strong.
Yeah, he was very strong when he beat up Ono. Like,
You can see all of the muscles in his shoulders. He's so
uh,
broad.
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, you can
Hey,
keep him.
whipping cream is hard.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Like
man.
whipping egg whites until they're stiff enough.
Like that takes that's hard. That's work.
That is, yeah.
Ugh, he's so dexterous.
Oh my god. Someone do something.
Someone do something. Ah,
Help!
ah,
Help!
ah. I kind of liked a I kind of liked a short read. I read an anthology that addressed how one character was demonized for being gay, and the short was "You did nothing wrong." Also, also you're hot. Yeah, that's valid. I mean, I think like that's how most people in the '90s approached it, where it's just like, yeah, we're both hot. Deal with it. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and again, neither of us are here arguing that Ono needs to be demonized. He's perfectly fine on his own. He is one of many glasses wearing whore characters that Fumi Yoshinaga has. So he's perfectly fine in his own
I
little
love
box.
him.
I have nothing negative to say about him. Uh, but yeah, that was one thing that like the more I re-listened to the episode, because 50% of all the episode replays are me.
I appreciate your service.
That I was like, oh man, I wish we brought that up. But I mean, we talked about a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
We were talking about a lot of other things. Uh, I also would love to bring up a very, very brief aside where we talk about one of my least favorite things: autism
Kaideko?
coding.
Oh, right. No, we were gonna, because I have a thing about Kaideko. Just
Okay,
remind
you
me.
go first. Let's talk
Okay,
about Deco.
because it's actually not so much about her as it is my beloved Eiji, because Kaideko looks super mature, right?
He does.
She's supposed to be like a fourth grader. She's in the fourth grade, and
Yeah.
even like when Eiji first sees her, like they all think she's older,
Yes.
but even when he knows she's a fourth grader, he's still talking about how he wants to marry her because she's
Yes.
so beautiful. And he's like, how young can you marry? And I'm like, AG, baby, I she's in the fourth grade.
She's a literal child.
And like, again, we are not canceling anyone. They are fictional
No.
characters, and he ends up
Correct.
fucking his French teacher, so it's all
Who is
fine.
significantly older than him, mind you.
I mean, age's age range is
Almost like his promiscuity is supposed to be a character flaw.
Well, I mean, he's a straight man
Straight.
until John Baptiste shows
Let's say
up.
because he sure is ready to spread for Jean Baptiste. He's ready. Jean Baptiste walks in. Odo's like, "This is the man that taught me how to bake. Let's go to Pound Town."
But like everyone, even Tachibana's like, well, if that's what it takes to keep, oh no, let me. It's just
Jean Baptiste is the best because he was willing to make everyone just go gay, and I love him for that. I stan him for that.
that is
That
a
he was
superpower.
that is a he walks in and his big dick energy is such a threat that he is willing to make everyone go gay and bottom, not top, not top, because Tachibana's fully like, I will submit my ass to you.
Yeah.
Eiji fully, my legs are spread. Let's go. Stuff me like a piping bag.
Thank you for that visual.
Like, oh, I love that horrible French man. But yeah,
Yeah.
Deco's sexualization is weird because, like, one of the big things is they do talk about her starting puberty very, very young.
Yeah.
And, like, that she already has tits, and, like, her mom basically refuses to buy her bras because her mom is horrible.
And
it's
she's
like,
already on her period.
right, like, and her mom is, like, not really supporting her through that because her mom's not supporting her. Yes. Literally.
Yeah.
Weapon of ass destruction. Literally, I love this horrible man. But like,
God.
it's clear like her mom isn't supporting her through any of this. But like, yeah, she is weirdly sexualized, and like she talks about how often she gets hit on. She talks about like, especially she gets hit on a lot because like her breasts are flopping everywhere because her mom won't buy her bras. And it's like, again, it's one of those things that like in the moment you just kind of run with it because there's a lot of horrible things happening all around you.
Yeah. And
But then like you take a second and it's like, wait a minute.
yeah, and especially again, she has like 3 parents who are barely functional. And so you have a mom who clearly isn't supportive, the dad very supportive but dumb as a brick, and then Tachibana. So I'm like, this
is
is
somewhere in between dumb as a brick and very supportive.
Yeah, and this is a very volatile environment for a child to grow in. And
it is.
And even though, again, played off as comedy and we're not supposed to take it too seriously, if you applied this to real life, this is how kids end up getting exploited.
Absolutely. And like, it's one of those things again that like in the moment you're running in it with the series, there's so much else that's going on that like you don't have time to focus on it. But then yeah, you take a step back and you're like, wait a fucking minute. Like, why did she want to be a mom? Listen, she fully was just like, my time has come, my eggs are expiring.
And then she was like, I will have a smart child.
And then when she didn't have a smart child, she was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like most narcissistic parents. Like she
is. Really.
She reminds me of my mom a little.
Oh god. But then she just went back to, inhaling cigarettes.
Just eating cigarettes with a fork and knife.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like it's so clear that, and like that could be a whole other like panel discussion of just like how awful of a parent Sakurako is. And that's again played for a laugh.
Yeah.
How horribly ill-equipped Chikage is to be a dad. I think she would have taken worse care of a Tamagotchi. I don't think a Tamagotchi would have fared any better.
Oh my god, that would be horrible.
Yeah, I don't think either would work out well. But I mean, at least Kaideko has like places she can go. Like she does have the antique that she can go to. She does have her dad, even though he's dumb as a sack of bricks.
At least he means well.
Ono seems to have no desire to be a 4th co-parent, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Because Ono spins that episode like you have a daughter.
Yeah, he's kind of just like
he's like floating. Yeah, he's dissociating in the background, just like, I'm gonna go scrub out pans for 10 hours. I don't want to talk about this.
going back to one of the things we discussed in the main episode, I also think that because Kaideko looks so mature, she
Yes.
triggers that fear of women in him. So he doesn't, he's just not on board
Well, and
with
also
this.
like
He's
if you want to talk about like if you want to talk about having a fear of women, like she's literally going through all the things that like men who are quote unquote afraid of women are afraid of. Like menstruation is still something to this day that is taboo and that men do not like talking about or acknowledging.
not.
So like she's literally like a manifestation of his fear,
Yeah.
which I mean, I'm not going to say that that's good. I don't recall if the dojins really ever touch on that because as far as the dojins are concerned, they're just there for sex and fan service. So Kaideko stops existing for a little while.
I haven't
Um,
read all of them yet, but in the ones I did read, which were the ones focusing on Ono having sex with people, there was no addressing of this, I think.
yeah. So and again one of those things that like this is all wrapped up in an episode. I think out of all the things that I love and hate about Antique Bakery is that a lot of this stuff is very like closed box. Like you open the box, you see Kaideko, you close the box at the end of the episode. We're not going to talk about her again. Okay, but you've opened the box. We know that there's a child, and she's on a Snapchat. She doesn't. She's not ephemeral. Like that's going to keep being a thing.
Yeah.
But the because the series is so concise, a lot of these like huge existential threats, like Jean Baptiste, are wrapped up in an episode, and then we're just not going to worry about that.
Back in the box. Goodbye. Yeah.
Back in the box. And I mean, and I don't think that like that improves by adding more episodes. I don't think that there's any amount of stuffing that fixes that. But there are these huge existential threats to the series that are introduced and then neutered in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because Chikage being a dad is framed as like, oh shit, this is an existential threat to Chikage and to Ono.
Mm.
Wrapped up at the end of the episode. Jean Baptiste is an existential threat to the entire staff of the Antique.
And their sexualities.
And their sexuality and Ono's safety. Whatever. They taste his Mont Blanc. He's not a bad guy. He goes off to France to be a millionaire. Everything's all right. Ono gets his Birkin sling. Everything's fine. Eiji being threatened to go to France. Wrapped up in like 5 minutes. I don't want to go. Okay.
But no one was going to send him either. He just thought they were going to send him, and
yeah,
then
like he had a nervous breakdown of his own accord, and everyone's like, "No one fucking said we're sending you to France." What? But yeah, Deco is so confusing because there's so much of me that like wants to interrogate that further, but I just don't have it in my brain to do it because I feel like that just like that opens up such like a Pandora's box of like, so to tie it into what I was talking about, which is autism coding. So
right,
one thing
yeah.
that you see a lot in fan spaces right now is attributing autism to fictional characters. And one thing that I love and hate about the slippery slope conversation about talking about Chikage and consent is trying to diagnose what is wrong with Chikage. I have never had an interest in figuring out what was wrong with him. Some people are dumb.
Yeah, but and again, this was in the late 90s. There were no autistic people. No, yeah, but there were no words.
There were no words for that, especially in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't a language for that the way that we have now.
And I genuinely think that he's just dumb. I think he's just one of these archetype characters who exist to be beautiful but stupid. He's a himbo. Kind of.
I think calling him a himbo gives him too much credit because himbos are meant to be like airheaded and kind of flighty. There are dogs that are smarter than Chikage.
This is actually true. He does have a lot of
He's
severe
dumb as a brick. Like this is like a full like flowers for Algernon scenario where the mouse is winning the maze. He is not a bright man.
and it's like
There's no light behind those eyes.
and there's like a significant lack of life skills there that are just like how because they kept him on the staff to be
Yeah.
like cleaning staff, but he was
Even though
so
he doesn't
bad
do
at it
anything.
that but Tachibana's family just kept him around because they felt so bad for him and he can't do any other jobs.
Right. And
He's useless.
he ends up being this like pseudo caregiver to Tachibana because he is older than Tachibana. But it ends up being Tachibana who's the caregiver to Chikage a lot because Chikage is an idiot. So
he is an idiot, and I love him, but
I love him. But a modern audience might try to ascribe something like autism or neurodiversity to him. And that brings up a complicated issue of consent that is completely out of my league. Because while I am not here to take away sexual agency from those that are neurodivergent and or autistic, I can see what is in front of me, and that is a man who clearly did not understand what sex was when it came to Sakurako, and if left to his own devices, would end up dead in a field.
Yeah. Yeah.
I call it as I see it. You can't leave him alone for too long.
No, but you can't. I mean, there's a reason why, Tachibana looks so profoundly worried when Chikage says that he's going to move and like live on his own. And he moves like next door. He's like on the same street. But
right, he's literally down the street.
He just doesn't have any life skills. But yeah, no, and Sakurako just kind of like bulldozes over him, literally.
She does.
I don't know, like there is a part of me that feels like the turkey baster theory is the way to go, but
I mean, if it
we
works
know
for,
that's not
if it works for Batman comics, it can work for Antique Bakery. Because that's usually the only way that we can rationalize how Damian Wayne exists.
I can't. Can't comment.
I just made DC fans very unhappy.
I feel like this is something you do on the regular.
Oh, like very, very like not subtly shade comic book fans constantly. Which brings me to a completely unnecessary rant about Trigun.
Let's go.
Okay. So I've seen a lot of bad takes about Trigun. My least favorite right now talks about Vash being a womanizer in the manga and in the 98 version. Listen, I get Fujin brain rot. I get that in Stampede, the only logical explanation is for him to fuck his brother. I understand. But Vash being a womanizer is an intentional personality flaw because it shows his lack of attachment to people. Almost like that's the point. So calling his womanizing uncomfortable and out of character, and it doesn't make sense. It's literally the point. He doesn't value humans the same way that someone who is mortal does. While he has more compassion for humans, they are still mostly playthings to him. It's why he's allowed Knives to be a murderer for 150 years and doesn't do anything about the whole Knives situation really until Wolfwood dies. So I get it. I'm so glad that people that are watching Stampede are going back and watching the 98 version. Watch it correctly and use your brain. That's the whole point. The whole
this
point
has been a PSA.
This has been a PSA from a very old tired fan. That I am so tired of these Stampede fucking basics coming into the 98 and be like, oh my god, Vash's womanizing is so cringe. It was 1998. There was no other way to write a Wolfwood is a priest who literally fucks everyone. It was 1998. Any character that wasn't a child was a womanizer, and some of the children were womanizers too.
This is true.
Ah,
This is
ah.
how
I do love characters like that though, like human enough but off, like in Steven Universe where Rose literally paused when being told to act more like a person and went, but I'm not a person. Exactly, like Vash's otherness, which we cannot write away as being Scandinavian all the time.
only sometimes.
Only sometimes. Like that's the point. He also still views humans as tools. He still views humans as a means to an end. He has more respect for them collectively than Knives does, because Knives is a phallic plant deity. But he still doesn't respect humanity, which is why he also does a bunch of murders. This has been a Trigun PSA from a very, very tired fan. Thank you.
I'm just over here, like still not entirely through the whole thing. So I'm like, I don't know who Knives is yet. So I'm just
You're gonna meet Knives. You're going to look at him, and every quirk of my personality is going to make sense.
uh
He is neither, because I actually want to sleep with him.
Did I tell you that when I went to my friend's wedding a couple of weeks back, I kept spending like I kept ending up in conversations about Naruto with people at the wedding. Like this is what we were doing.
How am I not surprised in
We're just
any
like
way?
sitting at the wedding dinner talking about Sasunaru.
I can't say that I'm shocked, but that doesn't mean that I'm not disappointed.
It was a very nice wedding, though. They were very beautiful,
sure.
both of them.
Watch the 98 Trigun. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot about Stampede that I... Okay, if you talk about Kim Porsche at a wedding, we need to have several conversations.
I did also talk about Kim Porsche at the wedding.
No.
But that was mostly because I was there was a friend who was riding from the church with us, and I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and he was like, "What are you into lately?" And I was just like, "Let me talk to you about
Kim to lie."
Why would I lie to my child? He's a lot younger than me, and he has promised that he'll take care of me when I get old.
Lie to.
No.
That's literally like the top demographic of people you lie to.
I want to be honest with my children. So
Judge glare.
I mean, he's like 30, but
Okay.
Or, wait, no, he's like 27.
That's not the same.
I forgot. Yeah, no.
But yeah, that was a brief Trigun aside, because I've been sitting on these takes just fucking stewing.
Yeah, do watch the 98 version. I'm going through it very slowly because I get to see my girlfriend once a week. Yes. And yeah, so we don't have a lot of time. We've been watching Lord of the Rings again. We had time for that.
Me. I've had time to rewatch Antique Crisis 3 times. Don't ask about any of the new series I was supposed to start. I know all of Jean-Baptiste's lines in French now.
It's fine. This is what it's like when you're an aging Fujin. This is what you do.
You just rewatch the same thing over and over again. Speaking of, do you want to talk about racism?
No. I mean, yes, I guess.
Oh boy, they sure do have some issues talking about Europeans in this, don't they? Yes. Oh boy, Europeans sure are not discussed in the greatest ways, are they?
No. I don't know. I'm so used to it that I don't even respond to it anymore, because there's this and it's not only Europeans, but
It's not.
you know how a lot of manga has that attitude of, oh, they're foreigners. You know that old, this is one of my least favorite things when they're like, someone kisses them and it's clearly, it's clearly romantic, but they're like, oh, but they're Westerners. That's just how they greet people. No, it isn't.
It's no, it's not.
I have never greeted someone by sticking my tongue down their throat. I'll tell you that.
You're also Norwegian. I don't think you greet people.
No, actually, I see someone I know at the grocery store and
And you walk away.
I hide
Yeah,
in the next aisle until they go
exactly.
away.
Like you're also Norwegian. I don't think you have greetings. Um, but it's true. Like
Oh
a Norwegian greeting is to hide behind a bush until the social interaction is over. The same works in
no.
Denmark. Um,
It works in all of Scandinavia. It's a universal language. Why do you think we understand each other's languages
you're
except
all just
Danish?
hiding in bushes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but oh boy, they sure don't talk about Jean Baptiste well.
Well, he deserves it.
Can I help you?
I said what I said.
I think he is an enterprising businessman who's been doing great things for the economy.
Have you considered becoming a politician?
I was on the debate team for many years.
I can tell. I can tell.
I was on the debate team for many years, and I was in student government. Oh, and I was a model UN.
Wow.
Yeah, for the economy. Yes, my economy. I'm the economy.
You're
He's been
the
doing great. Yeah,
yeah,
he's been doing great things for the economy. Me.
and the currency. The
Yeah,
currency was Twinks. That was the
yeah.
currency.
The currency is fuckable androgynous men. Uh, but yeah, like his anger issues are framed as him just being European.
Yeah.
His sexual deviancy, not the being gay part, but like all the other sexual deviancy, is played as him being European. That he's an inattentive lover. Because like there's that one part where like after sex he like immediately passes out and falls asleep on top of Ono, and like that's in the moment is a throwaway gag, but like that's a jab that people have against European men, is that they're not great lovers. Yes.
Really?
When I went to Austria, the two concerns that I had were rabies from bats during spelunking, and that Austria has the highest per capita population of men who have STIs and won't tell you.
Yeah, because I mean, I think I there's like a divide, right? Because you have like, okay, no one counts Northern Europe because
Yeah.
we're just over here, like
Yeah.
we're all frigid. We don't
Yeah.
count.
Yeah.
But you kind of separate between, like the good Europe, the sexy Europe, Italy, Spain,
Mhm.
France, and then
Mhm.
you have like Eastern Europe, which is like
Yeah.
shady. Have you ever watched Euro Trip?
Yes.
I love that film. And and you have like, because they keep talking about this crazy European sex, and every European watching that film is like, what do you think we're doing over here? Like, what is
Right.
this? What is this perception? But yeah, I think because we are so used to hearing about, when people talk about Europeans, they tend to
Mhm.
think of Frenchmen and
Mhm.
Italians, and
Mhm.
they have like reputations for being maybe promiscuous but also
Mhm.
great lovers, right?
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah.
also selfish, maybe.
And that's why I said that he's a selfish or bad lover,
Mm.
because I mean he clearly gets it in, and Ono isn't complaining for some reason. So I do want to hallmark on this. So Japan especially has a very fraught relationship with France. A lot of it's tied to colonialism, and a lot of it is tied to Japan still has a very romantic, capital R romantic view of France until they go and they realize that it's a piss soaked hovel.
Have you ever been to France?
No.
No,
The
me
one
neither.
weekend I was supposed to go to France when I was in Austria, some other students went and they contracted Legionnaire's disease from a hot
Oh
tub.
wow.
So
Okay.
it was during the Tour de France, they got Legionnaires from a French hot tub. I was in Vienna.
Yeah, I've never
I
wanted to go to
I was in
France,
Austria's capital.
but I'm afraid of the language. So yeah,
I'm going to try to eat this eclair and not look like a prostitute.
everyone like
Um,
wait. Good. I ate my thing, and now I'm sad.
God, I love eclairs.
I don't think I've ever had like a proper eclair. I've only had like grocery store ones
Your grocery stores have eclairs?
occasionally, but they're not any good. they're,
The
they're
grocery store eclair does also sound like a euphemism. So here's the thing about grocery store eclairs is that they're typically piped in. They aren't split. A true eclair is split and filled with pastry cream. They aren't piped. It creates a different texture. I love pate choux dough. It's a pain in the ass to make though.
I don't doubt it. I
All the years of baking just show up. But Japan has a very, very like conflicted relationship with France and with the West in general. There is one of the most interesting things. I've never seen one in real life.
what
Go find an go
my
find an
first
eclair.
my first thought was like, what, a Frenchman? But no, yeah.
Yeah, they're not real. They only exist in fiction. Uh, but there's no greater negging experience than being an American anime fan because all of the media is just talking about how terrible Americans are. And what I love about modern fandom is that they're too dumb to realize it now. They don't know that we're being made fun of. 90s 2000 fans, we know. Rumiko Takahashi makes fun of Americans in every manga she ever makes. She goes out of her way to do it. Hiromu Arakawa did it in Full Metal Alchemist by having a not thinly veiled World War II Germany be the main crux of her magical fascism show. Um,
I think for me it will always be, in Genshiken
yes.
when Sue and what's the other one? I can't remember the name of the other one with the
Mhm.
short hair, but the two American girls who are so fucking annoying because they are representing the yaoi fangirl of the early
Mhm.
90s. And
Yep.
they are awful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a mess. But like yeah, a lot of Jean Baptiste's flaws are really written off as him being French,
Hmm.
which no, let's maybe not hang our hats on that.
No, and especially the whole like excusing domestic abuse because, oh, but Southern Europeans are so hot tempered. They're
Right.
just being passionate.
Right. Like that's a problem. That's a problem. Like he can be an abusive man and be from anywhere. Are you okay?
No, I'm being hunted.
Oh, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Uh,
He's in
but
my lap, swatting at my hand
I love
because
him.
he's.
I love him so much. But yeah, there's a lot of things in Antique Bakery. One of the comments that I saw was like, I can't believe that this is only 4 volumes.
I know, right?
True, like so much happens that it really does feel like each one of the individual plots could be its own series.
Yeah.
You could have just a plot that focuses on the true crime. You could easily have a prequel that is just Ono and Jean Baptiste or any of Ono's boyfriends
Yeah, I
realistically.
mean, honestly, Ono's storyline in itself could be like any like 5 volume plus BL really, because
Right.
there's a whole like arc there.
Right. And especially because you know so little about him from the time that he gets rejected by Tachibana in high
Mm.
school to who he becomes. Like there was a lot of growth that is said to have been catalyzed by Tachibana rejecting him, which we have mixed feelings about that.
Huh.
That okay, he really came into his own after Tachibana called him the full-on F slur.
Shit. For
Does he
anyone who doesn't speak Norwegian, that means stop.
does he understand you?
He does. He just doesn't care.
Okay.
Like
I was like, just
he will dead ass look me in the eye and
yes.
argue back. Like I will say to him, like, did you see that? Did you see that paw?
I saw that fall.
But I will like dead ass tell him like no, and he will look
Mhm.
me in the eye and go meow.
I
Like he
love
doesn't
him.
care.
I love him so much. But yeah, like there's so much of this series that could be like other series. And I'll say this, I don't want them to be. I personally am okay with this stuff being kind of open-ended because like that's where like fan works exist.
Yeah, and official dojins that
An
are like
official
semi-official.
yeah, that are really just characters having sex, which I mean is character development in some ways. But like Eiji's boxing career, how do you get in? How do you go from being an orphan to like being a pretty decent boxer? Whatever the fuck happened to Chikage, where his family works for the Tachibana family, but also doesn't really, and now they're just like friends, roommates, whatever. Like their arrested development childhood together. Yeah, the whole true crime part of just Tachibana's captivity and all that he went through.
And the open ending of the true crime plot,
Yeah,
because he knows.
he
Like
knows,
I dead ass think he knows, and he lets him walk away at the end, and I'm like, why?
right?
I have
I
so many
mean,
questions.
because it can't be that he's at peace. He made a whole honeypot trap. He's clearly not at peace.
No, but and then he keeps saying that that's not why he opened the bakery,
But it's totally why
but
he
it
opened the
is. Ugh.
yeah, but like, that's like it's totally why he opened up the bakery. Like, there's no other reason for him to open up the bakery. He doesn't have a sweet tooth. He doesn't like it.
I, but yeah, and now it just sounds like we're griping, but like we truly love it as it is.
Yeah,
But there are so many
there are
questions.
so many questions, and again, I personally think that's a positive because I don't think that there is any canon answer
Mm.
that makes any of that any better. I have a lot of questions, but none of them are solved by more information in canon. That's a bridge that we needed to cross 20 years ago, and we didn't. So it's just a field somewhere. Yeah, I don't need, a 20-year compendium where they answer, chapter by chapter all the questions that we have. I don't
An
need that.
answer key companion to Antique
Right.
20
I don't
years later.
right. It's like, oh, here's what Ono was doing from being rejected by Tachibana to him getting hired back. Like, I don't need answers to that. That's fine. It'd be nice, but that would have been nice 20 years ago.
But
Um,
if she released a prequel now, would you read it?
I think I would need to know what the prequel is about
Mm.
because again, like there's a lot of questions that I have, but I don't think I really want any of them answered. Like if it also had to be like a really really narrow prequel because I wouldn't want it to be like a here's what all of the characters were doing 15 years ago. I don't care. I don't care about all of the characters. But like yeah, if it was just like okay, so like if she did a prequel that like was just Ono and Jean Baptiste, yeah, give me that cuz I want to understand that cuz that relationship went on for years.
Mm.
Like that was probably Ono's longest relationship. That I need to understand. Um, maybe it is like the string of boyfriends that Ono had that led up to that. She drops a random tweet, like an 11-page long thread, refuses to elaborate. Honestly, she would do that. It was 100% something that Fumi Yoshinaga would do. She would just log on. Here, I've listened to your stupid episode. Here's every answer to all of your dumb questions. I'm going back to my cave. I'm going back to my mansion. Fuck you. That is 100% something that she would do. She is 100% like Alan Moore in that regard. of just here's all of your stupid answers to your stupid questions. I'm going back to my cave. Leave me alone. Um, but yeah, like, are there questions that I would love answered? Yeah, but like again, that's why fan works exist. One of the things that I've come to find that I don't hate prequels and sequel series is that I hate the direction they go in.
Mm.
So like I remember facing that a lot. I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Still haven't read that.
You are missing out on the greatest love story between Albus Severus and Scorpius Hyperion Malfoy.
I've heard his middle name is Hyperion.
His middle name is Hyperion.
Okay, sure.
You go tell Draco Malfoy to name his son something less whatever Scorpius Hyperion is.
Why am I okay with Scorpius?
But Hyperion is the one that you can't hang with.
But also, do you know, maybe I've said this before, but you know what I think is really fucking confusing? Because in Norwegian, obviously they had to translate a lot of names, right? Which is really dumb. Like some of them I get because they're supposed to be puns.
Yes.
I will never understand why they had to translate George. I mean, because I'm pretty sure they're called Fred and Frank in Norwegian. It's like George is a Norwegian name. Just call him Georg. Like that is literally a Norwegian name. Anyway, but Scabbers, Ron's rat in Norwegian is called Scorpus. But then when they named the children, they kept the names. So the rat and Draco's child essentially have the same name. Because it's Scorpus versus Scorpius, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
God, your country is made up.
It's also, you know what's really funny? I get berated like it's my fault by
Who's
my
berating you?
Swedish friends
Yes.
because in Norwegian,
Yes.
the golden snitch is called gullsnoppen, but in
Okay.
Swedish, snopp means penis. And the Swedes will not shut up about this. And all I want to know is what Norwegian thought that translation was a good idea. Like, fucking thank you for that. Harry Potter caught the golden penis with his mouth.
I mean, I've read Goblet of Fire a few times. I'm not going to say that didn't happen. I'm not here to confirm or deny whether that did or did not happen. But
I have a lot of issues with with the translations, and I only read like the first 2 or 3 books in Norwegian. So when I talk to like younger fans who read them all in Norwegian, I tend to get confused because I don't know what characters they're talking about because I'm like, what? But yeah, no, I lost it. I couldn't take it anymore. It is absolutely awful.
I love that for you. But no, my point is that like the reason why I hate Cursed Child is because it's a sequel. It's because it's a sequel that is uninteresting.
Mm.
And it doesn't answer any of the questions that you have at the end of the series. Like how, well, there's another time paradox child because there's Teddy Lupin, who is Remus and Nymphadora.
Tonks?
Yeah, Nymphadora Tonks' kid. Because that's a straight man. Because that's a heterosexual man right there, who clearly isn't in love with Sirius Black. But I get away from myself. That kid doesn't exist as the movies go because they die earlier. But Teddy is around at Hogwarts, being the same age ish to Scorpius and Albus Severus.
But aren't they pregnant in Deathly Hallows?
Yes. Translations are weird. Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
Listen, 4 kids made so many questionable decisions.
And again, the strangeness that happened when the European dubs based themselves on the American dubs, and I was watching Sailor Moon in Swedish, and Usagi became Bunny, so then Bunny became Annie in Swedish, and I was like, so, and then there were like they translated and changed some of the names, but then they kept some of like some other names. So Chibiusa was called Chibiosa, and they
Sounds
kept
like
that.
that does sound like a Harry Potter spell. I kind of
It
like
was
it though.
very, very. It was
But yeah,
An-
like
Annie.
but like there are so many ways that you could have done a sequel to Harry Potter that don't involve time paradox children and rehashing the same story but with less captivating children. Except for Scorpius being very obviously gay.
I have no, I have nothing to add.
He's honestly him and Albus Severus are adorable. It is the only joy that the cursed child has ever brought. Oh, and Hermione being on the absolute like precipice of divorcing Ron at like Ron looks at her and is like, I want to leave you.
Oh,
Like their marriage is in tatters. And that's one of my favorite things. Like Ron breathes and Hermione is like, I want you out of my house.
oh my. Okay.
Those are my two favorite parts of the cursed child. But yeah, like there's nothing that I can imagine. Like I don't even know what a sequel to Antique Bakery looks like.
Hmm.
I don't even know what. Oh my god! In the play, Draco being a great dad apparently was so wild to my friend. Yeah, Harry was not a great dad. Draco is doing his best, but like Lucius is still alive. So it's like this old, like racist sock puppet in the background. Like Draco's doing his best to be a dad. His mom has died.
Oh,
But yeah, his mom died. But Lucius is still alive for some reason. And he's just like, I don't like your kid and all of his dumb muggle shit.
okay.
It's very funny. It's very, very funny. It's such a wild choice. And like Draco, who had been through everything that he had been through and like defied his father a plenty of times, for whatever reason, is still being willing to listen to his dad. That's what he is. There's an old racist sock puppet. Just like, I don't like your son bringing in muggle shit. And Draco, who at that point had emancipated himself in every other way from his father, is still like, well, I guess you're right. I don't really like him liking muggle shit either. You can't have muggle stuff in the house. You can't bring your comic books into the house, Scorpius.
Scorpius.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Yeah, like I don't even know like what does your perfect Antique Bakery sequel look like? Is it
I like I think what is very different is obviously that you have such a long-standing relationship with the series, and I just recently read it,
mm-hmm.
so I don't have the same build-up of strong emotions
That's why I
that you
asked
do.
you.
Yeah, I don't know. I because I don't know if I want a sequel in that sense,
That's
because I
valid.
really do think that it's perfect the way it is. However,
Mhm.
you know what I want. I want Chikage and Ono to be endgame and live happily ever after.
They do.
And I do.
What
And
else
like
do
I
you
know
want?
no,
Do you want a beach wedding in Hawaii? What else do you want?
I didn't think that far. I just I was just like I want them to be together. And
They
I guess
are.
like run the bakery, even though it's not their bakery.
It's literally not their bakery. It's okay. That's something that like I think is hilarious. It of course is relating to Jean Baptiste, but when Jean Baptiste walks in and is like, "Oh, is this Yusuke Ono's bakery?" and Tachibana is like, "No, it's fucking mine." That's, and like That little jab, I think, is the funniest
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, oh, is this Yusuke's bakery? It's like, no, bitch, it's my bakery. Yusuke just works here.
yeah.
And then they have their French dick measuring contest, which is, you know what? Controversial opinion. I don't think they're very similar.
No, I don't actually think they are either.
Like, I don't
I
really know what Ono is seeing in them that he thinks that they're very similar.
I guess it's like the competition that they're both competitive, but it's like I feel like it's a
Yes.
bit of a reach. They're not that similar.
They're, I mean, outside of them looking physically similar, because Fumi Yoshinaga has 3 body types, um, but like, yeah, they're not
Uh,
really similar at all. Like, they're very opposite to each other. I mean, in like every way. So it's interesting to me that like in Ono's brain, they're similar.
wait, I'm trying. Like they do have a few things in common. Like they both come from money somehow.
We
I
don't know that about
guess.
Jean Baptiste,
Well, Jean Baptiste has money,
but that doesn't
and
mean that he came
Tachibana.
from it.
No, but Tachibana came from money. It doesn't have
Yes,
any, and
yes,
Jean Baptiste has
is
money.
yeah, inexplicably.
They have both verbally abused him, and yet Ono seems to think that this is perfectly okay.
Okay, so what I need is I need to wear Ono's glasses. I need to know like what he sees in them that he thinks that they're the same. Because that's one of those dumb things. Like, yeah, in the moment I was like, oh ha ha, they are kind of similar. But like you think are like, no, they're not.
No,
Not in the
it's just
least.
you're being gaslit because Ono says it, so it must be true.
Yeah, Ono says it. And he clearly knows them both biblically.
But then you're like, no,
Maybe it's the
actually,
Shadow Sonic parallel. Maybe
they're both men.
they're both men that Ono wants to sleep with. Uh, but yeah, like they're not very similar. I
No, I
mean,
don't think they are. I am.
I know, shocking statements here on the Yaoi Shelf after an hour and 20 minutes. I don't think these two men that have nothing in common are very similar.
Yeah. One of
Um,
them is a pastry chef. The other one doesn't even like cake.
doesn't even like sweets. But it does make me question, what does Ono see in Chikage outside of being handsome?
But he's so lovely. I mean,
You're such a
he's
simp for him. I love
he's
him.
he's so sweet though. You
He,
know, like
yeah,
he's a genuine cinnamon roll, because he cares so much for Tachibana. Like he tries his best. He can't do anything, but he tries his best. He
he does.
supports him. And then the whole like he has that sweet innocence, like when he breaks
Yes.
down and he's like, that didn't mean anything to you. We were dancing in the rain. I'm like,
Oh
oh,
my god, that is
he's so sweet.
that is to this day. What I've got from antique bakeries, Ono has questionable taste in men and is a bit soft for the dull but pretty crayon. That is correct.
But Chikage is the dullest crayon,
He's literally he is a gray crayon.
but he is beautiful.
He's gorgeous. It, there not a single thought behind those eyes though.
But there's also not a single bad bone in his body.
Because he's too stupid to understand what bad is.
But maybe that's what Ono sees in him. I mean, I think at first it definitely, was just superficial because he's so stupidly pretty.
Oh wow. Ono falling in love with someone over superficial means?
Now that's never happened before,
Ugh,
ever. That is new.
how
Uh,
dare you? How dare you ascribe something
no,
like that
I mean
to this
obviously,
obvious slut?
obviously that's how it was at first. But I think he sees something else in him eventually,
Sure.
and then he looks away from the fact that the man is dumb as a brick.
He's so dumb. Bless him.
He's so stupid. I
He's
can't.
really dumb. I mean, I
I
love
love
him to
him.
death, but he's dumb
Oh.
as a brick. I
I'm
love him.
willing. I will go to the ends of the earth for this dumbass man. Like
I'm not going to go that far, but
he
he's
he showed his face, and I was like, oh no. And then he turned out to be really fucking stupid. And I was like, no,
It
he's
just
perfect. He's perfect. This
it's
is exactly what I want in a man.
just not a light behind those eyes.
Oh,
Bless him.
I love him.
I
Everything.
also love him. Uh oh, there is one thing that I would love definitively solved, and that is what is Tachibana's first name?
But it's Keiichiro.
But he also has gone by Keisuke.
When though?
There
Not in the publications.
in the
The ones
anime
I
he
have.
does, and some of the dojins he does.
Huh. You sure it's not a mistranslation?
It is not a mistranslation. It is
Oh.
either.
Well, I guess you can email her and ask.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's how I'm going to spend my finite moments on this planet. I'm gonna email Fumi Yoshinaga and be like, "Bitch, what the fuck?"
Why not?
Oh my god.
Let's just
Uh,
get her on as a guest and then we can ask her in person.
okay, if you think I'm going to waste my opportunity to get someone that famous on as a guest by asking about that, absolutely not. There are so many other questions that I have that have nothing to do. Also, I just want to say I love the succinctness of the Wikipedia entry for Jean Baptiste. This a famous pastier and Ono's former mentor and ex-lover. He unsuccessfully attempts to persuade Ono to move to France to work in his new restaurant. That is leaving out so much information.
You know what that is? That is looking at him through Ono glasses. That
That's
is Ono just disregarding everything
everything
else and
happened.
just being like, yeah, he was my boyfriend and he was my mentor and he wanted me to come back to France and then we just leave out the part where he verbally and physically abused me and was horrible and he
Everything's
he
fine.
he makes a great Mont Blanc.
Yeah, he makes some great pastries. Everything's fine.
Ah,
Everything is fine and it's
wow.
okay. Uh, there is one thing that I want to close on, and it's one thing that I think is important to talk about as we talk about BL and genre, is that Yoshinaga went very very far out of her way to say that this is not a boys' love, stating that being regarded as BL may limit the range of the audience, but there is nothing I can do about it. More importantly, I want my readers to read it as they like. Surely, we should be allowed to read manga with whatever dogma and prejudice we like. Fuck you, Fumi Yoshinaga.
What? Okay.
That is such a nothing statement. Because by saying that it's BL does not apply any more dogma or less dogma than saying that it's sojo. Especially now, it just feels like a cop out. It feels like all that Heartstopper bullshit, where it's like, oh, well, it's a male male romance. We're gonna call it this because it's different. But I do think that calling it a sojo does make it easier to write off a lot of the more systemic problems that exist in it, like the rampant hand waving of abuse, the blatant misogyny, whatever weird glasses that Ono was wearing that wrote the Wikipedia entry for Jean Baptiste, where he's just a guy that shows up once.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all that happened.
Yep. That
There's
is
not even there's not even a mention that he was abused. Because that's kind of important, right?
a little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
Also, okay, I'm assuming that yeah, this wiki was written by Ono because they mentioned that Ono is the gay of demonic charm. The only exception was Tachibana. They go out of their way to say the only exception of a man who would not sleep with him that he wanted
I
was
mean, but that's
Tachibana.
yeah, and that's what he says himself. So
Yes. It's not a BL. Isn't the main purposes. Yes.
but that to be fair, that also does happen in BL.
It does. It does. It
And
does.
yeah.
I
No,
think that's why. Go ahead.
I think it's tricky, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
again, because even though Antique Bakery came out after the BL genre had been established,
Mm-hmm.
BL and shojo are kind of two sides of the same coin because
Mhm.
BL sprung out of shojo.
Mhm.
And I do understand what she's like. It's just, it's like it's such a dual-edged statement because as the author, you get to decide the genre. Like you say,
Mhm.
this is a shoujo, but then so then saying that people can interpret it in whatever way they want, that kind of takes away from that statement. I don't, but I see how it's like obviously in the West, we would just label it as BL because,
Right.
like I said in the main episode, we seem to think that as soon as there is male romance happening, it has to be
Mhm.
BL. And that is not the case. Like all BL is gay, but not all gay content is BL.
Yes. Uh there's some really, really fascinating notes that exist about this series. I don't usually like using Wikipedia as a primary source, but it does bring up a lot of secondary sources that are much more important. There was a lot of conversation that happened around and about Antique Bakery, especially because of the time period it came out in. So I'll compile a few of those and link them because like there are some really, really fascinating reviews that came out about it that are like that have really just aged in such a fascinating way. My favorite being that there was one particular Western anime critic that said that they didn't like the over reliance of CGI.
Ellen, okay.
Hmm. Hmm. I wonder how they're liking anime now. uh, there's a lot of really, really interesting conversations that happened in and around it that I had kind of forgotten about because I of course was absorbed in a bubble that this was the greatest show that has ever existed, and it was my personality for many, many years. uh as we wrap up, Corolla, what are we covering next month in October?
Horrible men. It is October, spooky month,
Yes.
Halloween, and it's time for the Halloween special, the villain
Yes,
fucker episode.
we are finally doing a villain fucker episode.
As if we don't, kind of do that.
Natalia is in
Oh
2024.
God!
I'm
But I
so
don't know anything about it.
you have time to learn.
No, I don't.
It's true. Uh true. It only gets worse from here. But we're going to be covering villains, which means we're going to tackle queer coding in villains, why so many villains are fuckable, and list off some of our favorite villains that we would lay with biblically. Will there be new takes in this episode? Absolutely
Probably.
not.
Will we be arguing about whether or not we want Shigaraki's crusty hands on us or not?
How did I
Probably.
know? How did I know? Out of all, he is literally the worst. He's literally the worst.
You know what the worst part is? Like, I'm not even that attracted to him. It's just
You're
become a
not. You
thing.
just know it
It's
pisses me off
I
because
do.
yes,
I am a little attracted to him, though.
there's nothing to be attracted to.
He has a lot of hands, and he looks like Hyde.
I still think that that's a disrespectful thing to say about Hyde. That is a mean thing to say about Hyde.
I do have a lot of other villains in my repertoire, though.
Of
I do.
course.
I do.
I mean,
Like
we both do.
the whole fucking Akatsuki, almost.
Mm,
Almost. I can
mm.
do without a couple of them, but yeah, no.
Oh, how big of you? Yeah, he definitely needs like Eucerin or something. He is crusty and dusty, and I have worries about him. He
Yeah,
needs an ointment of some kind.
if he like maybe he should see a dermatologist. But he doesn't have time. He's busy being a villain. Like he's busy. Man has a mission.
He literally doesn't do anything but sit around and play video games.
I don't understand. Why are you coming so hard for my man like this? Anyway.
When I am on the absolute wrong side of the field, betting on the worst horses.
I know, right? Because Dobby, who I would also lay with biblically, if it came down to that, is such a great choice.
Listen. we get to learn that even his tongue is stapled on, and I like that.
Your kinks are so
Oh,
soothing.
Tommy has time to set children on fire. She cried. Thank you. He has time.
Have you seen? Have you seen?
Kodogiri can magic up, warp up a doctor. Go find someone.
Have you not seen the wait list at the doctors lately? Like
Oh, I'm
he's
sorry that I assumed that the head of the League of Villains just kidnapped someone. I didn't think he was going and filing in insurance paperwork for a claim. Just yoink someone. Sorry.
okay. I don't know. Maybe it's his brand.
Having a skin condition,
Yes.
having severe untreated eczema.
Yeah.
It's his personality.
That
Got it.
that can be a personality trait if
It's
you
a
wanted
shitty
to.
personality trait.
Yeah. I didn't say I was approving of it. Like
It's his aesthetic. Yeah, it's his aesthetic choice. But I'm excited to talk about villains that aren't the ones from My Hero Academia.
I'm trying to remember what other villains I do like. I will have to.
I will be talking more about Knives because I love that horrible man.
I love Horrible Men.
And I've loved him since I was a very, very small, problematic stan. My earliest anime crushes were like increasingly escalating problematic men.
I mean, it's your brand.
And it started young.
Yeah.
It started young. Like out of all the things that I have been inconsistently, I have consistently been a villain fucker. So I'm excited to talk about villains. That live stream will be in costume, in which Carola and I get to dress up from our favorite series that we have not talked about in a few episodes. Chuck. Well, no, we talked about it during Antique Bakery. God damn it! I was
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of villains,
listen.
you.
Tomase Gucci is not a villain. He is a perfectly acceptable husband
Uh-huh.
and father and
Yep.
businessman. He is
Yep.
good for the economy.
He's good for his own economy.
He's great for the
Oh
economy.
my god, he's an yeah. No, he's
I love
awful.
him. I love him. He
But yeah, and
cares.
again,
He cares so much about Eri.
yeah, so much
He's-
clearly, yeah. He's a wonderful
He cares so
supportive
much.
man.
He cares so much about Eri. He's done a great job of being the guiding light in that disaster's life.
Yeah, beautiful.
And we're not going to talk about the other sibling that he has because no one acknowledges Tatsuha.
No, I don't. I did like Tatsuya, and now he pissed me off an ex, and now
Friendship with
things
Tatsuha's over.
God damn it! I have unfriended Tatsuya. Like that is
Ugh.
it's over. No,
Well-
but I mean it's not. Just a disclaimer at the end, as if it wasn't obvious, since we're going to be simping about horrible villains next month. But all of these things that we have covered about Antique Bakery that are problematic. Again, we do not want to purify this world. we love the series as it is. We're just
Carola.
looking at it critically.
Okay, I maintain that the Wikipedia entry for Antique Baker was written by Ono. You have one word to describe Chikage. What word do you use to describe him?
Beautiful.
Okay.
What do you want me to say? Dumb as a brick is not one word.
That is correct. The word used is stoic.
Stoic?
He cries every episode.
He does. That's why I love him. I love an emotional wreck of a man.
Why did
Looking at
Ono
you,
write?
Tamaki.
Oh, that's why you like him. They're the same.
No, they're not. Shikage is a lot more emotionally stable than Tamaki.
No,
Tamaki,
he's not.
Tamaki is an
No.
anxiety wreck, and Shikage is just emotional.
Chikage is too stupid to have anxiety, but but if he had another brain cell, that's why you like him.
No, it's not.
They're the same.
Oh my god. You're just projecting because of that one time I drew a red line
I'm not
between some of
projecting.
your horrible, horrible choices in men.
I don't need your assistance in any of that. Thank you. I do not like Jean Baptiste because he looks like France and sounds like Yuki Eri. That is not why I like him.
No, that has nothing,
It has
nothing to do
nothing
with
to
it.
do with it. I love him based on a myriad of other
Yeah.
factors.
Yep.
Thank you all for
Clearly.
joining us on this live today.
Thank you.
We had
Make
a
sure
wonderful
that
time.
make sure to join us on Patreon because we need $2 more because Amanda has promised me that if we can get to $100 a month before November, she
Yes,
will watch Kin Porsche with me
that is
and we
correct.
will stream it and it's going to be beautiful. And I
That
just
is,
know that we're going to get into some horrible fights over it because I have a feeling.
you know, we will figure it out.
I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. Thank you all for being here. We
Thank
had a great time,
you.
and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.